This map traces the physical movement of Allied forces leading up to June 6, 1944. The invasion of Normandy was the tactical mechanism that triggered the collapse of Nazi Germany in the West. Pushing into that surf required assembling hundreds of thousands of soldiers and thousands of vehicles, all positioned directly adjacent to heavily fortified hostile territory. Projecting an invasion of this density requires a secure geographical launchpad. You need a staging node immediately off the coast of the target continent to stockpile the necessary mass. Britain's survival in the early years of World War II provided exactly that. The nation functioned as the unsinkable node for Allied force projection. By reverse engineering the buildup to D-Day, we can see exactly what maintaining that staging ground required: the mastery of maritime logistics, signals intelligence, and air defense. To understand the Allied victory in Western Europe, we have to look past the beaches of Normandy to the multi-year, multi-domain system buildup that made those landings possible. By 1941, the geopolitical geometry of the war shifted. With the Soviet Union and the United States entering the conflict, the British Isles transitioned from a defensive stronghold into an offensive staging ground. This created an immense dual burden. British domestic factories had to iterate continuously to sustain the war effort, while the physical island itself had to absorb and store a massive influx of American troops, tanks, and aircraft. Engineering this accumulation required a synchronized command partnership. British operational experience and territorial bases merged with American industrial output. But a military bottleneck of this density consumes resources at an astonishing rate. It could only survive if fed by an uninterrupted, high-volume supply chain spanning the Atlantic Ocean. The physical mass required for the D-Day invasion could not be assembled without first securing that ocean transit. This forced a strategic confrontation at sea. As an island nation, Britain possessed a distinct geographical vulnerability. Its entire industrial output and civilian survival relied on imported food, fuel, and munitions. This map shows the macro view of the Atlantic theater. The German counter-strategy targeted these merchant shipping lanes, deploying submarine wolf-attacks designed to sever the supply lines and starve the British industrial base through attrition. The baseline Allied tactical countermeasure was the convoy system. By consolidating merchant ships into tightly packed formations, the Allies localized their defensive assets and made the targets harder to locate in the open water. These convoys were integrated with technological force multipliers. Surface ships utilized radar to track threats at night, while sonar detected submarines, pushing back the German interdiction zones. Protecting that supply chain was a grueling human endeavor. Crews operated early analog detection systems in hostile maritime environments, spending hours manually scanning the horizon to spot incoming threats. While convoys and sonar provided effective localized defense, the volume of the transatlantic supply chain demanded a wider view. To optimize the route, the Allies needed to know the enemy's broader deployments before they struck. That wider view was generated far away from the naval war, driven by a hidden intelligence engine located at Bletchley Park. The German military transmitted its orders using the Enigma machine. The mathematical variations created by its rotors and plugboard made the encryption standard nearly impossible to crack by hand. British codebreakers, led by mathematicians like Alan Turing, countered this complexity with industrial-scale calculation. They engineered early computing machines specifically designed to process and decode these intercepted messages. The resulting intelligence output, codenamed Ultra, stripped away the operational fog. It provided Allied commanders with precise coordinates and predictive models for German attacks. Ultra served as the ultimate strategic force multiplier. Instead of fighting through the wolf packs, the Allies could route the convoys around them, securing the mass accumulation needed for the eventual invasion. But none of those networks would have existed without surviving 1940. Following the collapse of France, the British Army was trapped at Dunkirk, leaving the island exposed. Hitler's planned amphibious assault on the island, Operation Sea Lion, carried a strict prerequisite. Before German troops could cross the English Channel, the Luftwaffe had to achieve total air supremacy. The resulting Battle of Britain was a test of systemic efficiency. An outnumbered Royal Air Force had to marshal its finite technological assets to repel massive, coordinated aerial strikes. This diagram illustrates Britain's technological advantage. a coastal early warning radar network detected the incoming Luftwaffe formations before they crossed the channel. This precise detection eliminated the need for wasteful standing patrols. The RAF could conserve fuel, preserve the stamina of their pilots, and launch exact counterattacks only when necessary. Germany's inability to destroy the RAF forced a shift in strategy. They initiated the Blitz, a terror bombing campaign aimed at the industrial base, which the population outlasted. Defeating the Luftwaffe in 1940 was the foundational prerequisite for the liberation of France. It physically secured the territory that would eventually host the D-Day invasion force. Looking at this sequential map of the conflict, the causal chain becomes clear. First, the integration of radar and the RAF preserved the physical territory of the island. Operating from that secure territory, signals intelligence mapped the threats lurking in the ocean. That intelligence, combined with disciplined maritime convoy tactics, guaranteed the safe delivery of immense global industrial mass into the staging node. As that mass reached a critical threshold, it projected outward, creating a two-front war alongside the Soviet Union that trapped the German military in a terminal war of attrition. Britain's role centered on the execution of integrated defensive technologies, intelligence, and logistics that forged the staging ground for the liberation of the world.